Hey everyone, so I'm going to make a 5-part series on how to make dosas. Now this is my recipe and everybody who eats it always asks me how to make it. So I'm going ahead and making the video. The first part is how to make the dosa batter itself. This is pretty straightforward. So what you need to do is for a family of 4 to 6 people, take 3 cups of idli rice. You need actually idli rice and you can't use any other rice for the batter. So take 3 cups of idli rice, make sure it's washed, and when you wash it, make sure you get all the starch out and get the water as clear as possible. The next thing you need is a cup of urad dal, and I used whole urad dal. That helps out when you grind it up and also helps out in the fermentation process. I don't use split dal. So you need 1 cup of whole urad dal, and then with the rice I mix 2 teaspoons of methi. Once they're all washed, you need to allow these and soak them for about 24 hours. And then once 24 hours is up, we'll drain the water and then we'll grind it. So let's cover these up and then we'll come back the next day to grind it up. All right, so this is the next day. This is when all the dal and the rice has been soaking for over 24 hours. It's now soaking for close to, I'd say about 18 hours overnight. This is what it looks like. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take both of these and we're going to grind it. Now, here's a tip for you. If you're going to grind these lentils, these dals, the urad dal and the rice with the methi, I recommend that you grind it in a wet grinder. You can grind this in like a Vitamix or something like that, but the problem with the Vitamix is that when you're grinding, you're actually introducing heat. And the last thing you want to do is introduce heat when you're grinding the urad dal, and that's because it actually destroys the properties that'll help it ferment. And I highly recommend investing in one of these. I got this off of Amazon. I'll provide a link in the video, an affiliate link to Amazon, and this is the one I bought. I use this all the time when I make dosas. This thing is really great. You can take everything you have, put it into here, turn it on, and let it run. This is much better than the Vitamix blender or any other vendor, because what it's doing, it's using stone to grind it down. And what you'll need to do with the urad dal is to keep grinding it until you get a light, fluffy consistency. Now, the rice, when you blend it, you need just a textury, grainy consistency. And the other tip is you want to do these separately. So do this one first and then do this one second. And then once it's done blending in here or grinding it, then blend it together and mix them together with your hand. So the next step I'll show you is after I have grinded it down in the wet grinder, and you'll see what the consistency looks like. So let's get grinding. One other comment I forgot to mention is that you'll need 1 cup of thick poha. If you have thin poha, that's fine also. You're going to be grinding it with the rice. And what this helps out is it provides a little bit more texture, and it also helps out in the fermentation process. So get 1 cup of poha, make sure you rinse it out, and then put it in with the rice in the methi in the wet grinder. All right, so look at this. This is how it is grinded, all right? And you can see the slurry. It's pretty rough. It's still got it. This is what you want from the rice, poha, methi mixture. You can see it right here. This is what you want. And when it looks like this and it's a bit grainy, then you can stop blending this. And you can see here that how the the wet grinder works. The rocks of the wheels are actually like a stone. And then what they'll do is they'll pull the rice and everything into the middle, and they'll just grind it down. It's a lot better than like a Vitamix or any other sort of blender. It's actually a lot better too. All right, here it is. So I took it from the wet grinder. I emptied it out. Do the best that you can to take it from the wet grinder and put it into the pot. Now, the pot you're going to put it in is going to be my next tip here, is that you'll want to use, and I started using this, is an Instapot. And I'll tell you the settings later on when we get ready to start the Instapot up. But the Instapot comes with a steel pot. Make sure you put everything in here. Now, the consistency is going to be a little bit runny. Make sure you put a little water in when you're wet grinding it down. Maybe about a half a cup of water. You'll have to see the consistency. My apologies, probably my video doesn't look like the professional YouTubers, but I wanted to give you an insight. I try to keep everything clean as possible, but this somewhat gets messy after a while. So now let's go ahead and make the Urad Dahl paste. Let's grind it up. We'll take it, we'll put it in here, and I'll show you how fluffy it will get and exactly the type of consistency you want. Now with the Urad Dahl, don't put a lot of water in. If you do, keep grinding it until it gets fluffier and fluffier, and you'll see what I mean when it gets fluffy, and then we'll mix it up. Okay, let's move on to the Urad Dahl. All right, so now here's the Urad Dahl. You can see how thick it looks. What you want to do is, once this is done, you can see the consistency. It's nice and thick. Almost fluffy to the standpoint, it won't even come off your finger. What you want to do is then take it from here and mix it into the rice mixture that you had done earlier. Okay, so let's get that started. All right, here it is. So what I did is I took both the batters, the Urad Dahl batter and the rice batter, and I mixed it together. And the way I did it is use your hand. It may not look, and it sounds not healthy, but your hand has, let's say, bacteria that when you use it to mix it, it'll help with the fermentation. I mean, obviously, if your hand is super dirty, don't use it, but it's probably not going to get that dirty. But use your hand, get in there, mix it all up really nice and neat. And this is what it's going to look like. So now what we want to do is we want to turn this on, and what we want to do is put it on the yogurt setting. You see this setting right here? And then what you want to do is leave it on for 24 hours. And then the other thing is you just want to put a simple lid over it. Don't use the lid that comes with the Instapot, because what's going to happen is that this is going to ferment. It's going to rise. And if it rises too much, it'll get stuck. And just put a regular lid that just covers the top. One comment. Previously what I did is I used to take this pot and I used to put it in my oven, because I have a gas range and the pilot light is always on. And people are like, oh, that's a really easy way to do it, because the pilot light gives off some heat and it'll slowly ferment in your oven. I had a lot of problems fermenting the dosa batter. This is probably the best method ever to ferment your dosa batter. Now, if you're in India, someplace warm, where the house temperature within the house, the ambient temperature is pretty warm, this should easily ferment. But, you know, I'm in the northeastern state, so sometimes getting this to ferment was really difficult. So what I did is put it in your Instapot, put it in your yogurt setting, and take it out, stop it tomorrow, let's say in about 18-20 hours, right? So we'll give it a solid 24 hours to ferment. And I'll show you in the morning what it looks like when it's nicely fermented. But this is what it looks like. It's completely mixed together, and I used my hand, mixed everything up, made it nice and clean, put it in the Instapot, put the yogurt setting on for 24 hours, and just put a regular lid on it and let it sit there. and then I'll show you what it looks like when it's fermented. Okay, now this is after 18 hours, and this is the lid I was telling you about to put over your Instapot. So if it does ferment, it doesn't get stuck underneath the Instapot's lid. But as you can see, if you take off the lid, you can see all the bubbles in the dosa batter. This means that it's fermented. It's actually ready to go right now. So if you want to use it right now, you can turn this off and go ahead and use it. And again, this method has worked for me flawlessly. So let's go over the techniques that I use. 1, I use whole urad dal. I don't use split. 2, I use a wet grinder. I don't use regular blenders because regular blenders add heat into the batter. And 3, I blend the rice, methi, and poha separately, and then I blend the urad dal separately. I make sure the urad dal gets fluffy and thick. Then 5, I mix it together with my hand to add all the, the bacteria. It sounds pretty gross, but it actually works. And then 6, I use an Instapot in the yogurt setting for 24 hours to ferment it. This will work flawlessly. So if you like it, like and subscribe to this video. I hope this really works for you. I think it will if you follow my directions. And I think your dosa will turn out awesome. Alright, thanks. I'll see you in the next video.